The morning sun spilled over the naval base like molten gold, streaking across hangars and the steel hulls of ships lined in silence. The parade ground shimmered under the weight of heat, and the air carried that unmistakable sting of salt and authority. Soldiers moved in practiced rhythm boots against concrete, voices sharp, discipline etched in every movement. But one voice, loud and mocking, broke the harmony. Private Kellan Hurst leaned back on a crate, smirking as a woman in a dark blue naval uniform walked by, her cap pulled low, her hair bound neatly behind her neck. She wasn't familiar, too clean, too composed. New recruits always had that look. He lifted his coffee cup, still steaming, and grinned at his buddies. "Bet she's here to deliver mail or something," he muttered, fresh paint on her badge. The woman didn't look at him. Her pace didn't change. She walked straight toward the Central Administration Building with an elegance that felt deliberate, too deliberate for the chaos around her. The faint glint of a medal caught the sun from under her sleeve. Kellan narrowed his eyes, then scoffed. "Let's see if she's as calm when this hits." Before anyone could stop him, he flicked the cup. The dark liquid arced through the air like a cruel joke and splashed across her shoulder and chest. The crowd froze. The cup clattered to the ground, rolling in small, helpless circles. She didn't flinch. Not once. Slowly, she looked down at her uniform, then back up at the soldier, her eyes calm, steady, and unblinking. The kind of stare that didn't rise in anger. It sank deep into silence. The sergeant nearby gasped. "Private Hurst, what the hell?" But she raised a hand, a subtle gesture, controlled, commanding, "At ease, Sergeant." Her voice wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. It carried the quiet gravity of someone used to obedience. Kellan tried to laugh it off, forcing a grin. "Hey, no harm meant, ma'am. Just a joke." "A joke," she repeated softly, as if testing the word. Then she reached into her pocket, pulled out a folded letter, and handed it to the sergeant. "I'll be taking my office now." The sergeant's face drained of color as his eyes caught the insignia at the bottom of the page, the golden trident, the double star. His throat bobbed once before he managed to speak. "Admiral," he whispered. The yard went deathly quiet. Every soldier in sight, every mechanic, every officer who'd been pretending not to watch froze. Kellan's smirk vanished. His hand trembled. His knees wanted to give out. She didn't look back at him as she walked toward the command building, her boots slicing through the silence. But her calm, her restraint was heavier than rage could ever be. By noon, the base was buzzing. Whispers slipped through corridors, across mess halls, between cups of coffee that suddenly felt heavier to hold. "The new admiral arrived today. Did you hear what happened at the gate? A soldier coffee." She didn't even blink. In her office, Admiral Isla Wren wiped the last trace of coffee from her sleeve. The faint stain didn't bother her. She'd seen worse blood, oil, ash. The cup of humiliation meant little compared to what she'd survived. Her gaze lingered on a photograph on her desk. 5 figures in desert fatigues, standing in front of a transport helicopter, all smiling except one her. The caption at the bottom, "Operation Quiet Tide 2015. Only 2 from that photo were still alive. Her silence wasn't weakness. It was memory. A soft knock came at the door. "Ma'am, the private you requested to see is here." She closed her eyes briefly. "Send him in." Kellan stepped inside, hat in hand, posture stiff. The color hadn't returned to his face. He'd spent the last 2 hours cleaning every surface in sight, hoping somehow that scrubbing away grease could erase what he'd done. "Admiral Wren, I don't apologize yet," she said, not unkindly. "Sit." He obeyed. She studied him for a moment, the nervous twitch in his fingers, the shame pulling at his shoulders. "You served where before this post?" "Training detachment, ma'am. 2 years. No active duty. Figures," she murmured. Then, leaning forward, "Do you know what the hardest thing about command is, Private?" He shook his head. It's watching arrogance eat good soldiers alive. Not enemies, not war, pride. He swallowed hard, his throat dry. Yes, ma'am, you thought I was beneath you, she said, almost gently. That's what makes it worse. He opened his mouth to speak, but her eyes stopped him again. They weren't cruel, just heavy, like they carried the weight of every loss he couldn't imagine. I lost my brother to a friendly prank, she said quietly. Someone thought it'd be funny to load blanks in a training round. Only they weren't blanks. Humor can kill, Private. The words fell like iron. He stared at her, speechless. She stood, walking to the window overlooking the yard. This morning I let you humiliate me publicly. Do you know why? Kellan's voice barely rose above a whisper. No, ma'am, because leadership isn't about shouting or punishment. It's about silence that teaches. She turned to face him. The faint glint of her ring caught the sunlight, the ring that had made the general freeze that morning when she'd accepted her command. A simple silver band, etched with the emblem of the Navy's lost unit Silent Wave. It wasn't jewelry. It was a gravestone she carried on her hand. You will report tomorrow, she said finally, to my operations team. You'll serve directly under me for the next 6 months. He blinked in confusion. Under you, ma'am, after what That's your punishment, she said, her tone unshaken, to learn what respect feels like, not to receive it, but to earn it. Weeks passed. The story spread through the fleet like wildfire. The soldier who'd mocked the Admiral now stood behind her every morning during briefings, shadowing her on missions, fetching reports, standing guard at ceremonies. He never spoke of that morning again, but everyone knew, and Admiral Isla Wren never mentioned it either. She didn't need to. Her silence had already spoken loud enough. But one evening, months later, during a storm evacuation drill, Kellan found her standing on the deck, staring out at the waves. Rain lashed her shoulders, the sky bruised and alive. Ma'am, he said quietly, stepping closer. Permission to speak, she nodded. I never thanked you for not ruining me. She didn't turn around. You ruined yourself, Private. I just gave you a chance to rebuild. He hesitated. You really lost your brother like that? Her voice softened, carried away by the wind. I lost more than a brother. I lost faith. In people, in laughter, in mercy. But every now and then, someone reminds me it's worth rebuilding. He stood beside her in silence, watching the horizon swallow the rain. Then, without thinking, he spoke again. Ma'am, why the ring? She looked down at it, then at the restless sea. It's not a reminder of loss, she said. It's a promise that I won't let the silence of respect die. Thunder rolled over the water. He straightened, breath shaking. Permission to return to post, Admiral. She gave a faint nod. Dismissed, Private Hurst. He saluted, his hand trembling, not from fear, but reverence. Months later, during the annual inspection, General Lawson visited the base. The same man who'd once frozen when he saw that ring on her hand, the man who'd served beside her fallen brother. When he entered the command hall, Admiral Wren was already there, standing at the head of her officers. Every soldier rose to attention, boots striking the floor in a single thunderous motion. And there, among them, Private Kellan Hurst stood in perfect posture, chest out, eyes forward. Lawson's gaze lingered on the Admiral's hand, on the silver band gleaming against the light. His jaw tightened, memories flickering in his eyes. Then, slowly, he saluted her. Admiral Wren, he said, voice heavy, the fleet's in good hands. For a long moment, silence filled the hall, thick, respectful, alive. Then Kellan stepped forward, holding a steaming cup of coffee. He placed it on the Admiral's desk, eyes steady. Fresh brew, ma'am, no jokes this time. The hall rippled with quiet laughter, not mockery but warmth. She met his eyes and, for the first time, smiled. A small human smile. Careful, Private, she said softly. You're learning. That night, as the sun dipped beyond the horizon and the ships glowed against the dying light, the base felt different, less mechanical, more alive. Because somewhere between humiliation and honor, silence had spoken louder than words ever could. And for those who'd witnessed it, they'd remember the story not for the coffee nor the prank, but for the lesson that followed. Respect doesn't shout. It stands, it endures, it watches, and when tested, it never breaks.